Hey internets, it's Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, and this is the Dawnbringers, Rime of the Frostmaiden, Season 5, Episode 32. This episode is called Reunions. Sorry if that pause there was me needing to swallow. It is... Damn you, all of you are the worst.
Just ride right past it. Just keep going. It's fine.
You are awful, all of you. I love you. Welcome, everyone, to Dawnbringers, our Thursday night campaign, happening every Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/Mini Terrain Domain. Now, two things you probably noticed right away. One, where in the heck is Goblin Katie? And two, who is this stranger down below Dan in the corner that we've not seen in months? M has returned. Rest assured, Goblin Katie will be back to finish out the season. She is feeling a bit under the weather today and is not going to be playing with us tonight. And it was easier to put up this old overlay than to have the blank spot. So fear not. There will be more Rolo, the Kobold Wizard, in the future. But, Em, we are all super excited to have you and Fig back with us once again. And so we look forward to that. Couple of quick announcements. The usual, of course, in the lower left-hand corner, now under M, you can see our partner logos for Talon and Claw. You can check out Talon and Claw at the link that Jeremy just put in the chat. Check out their Etsy store, all kinds of wonderful wooden dice accessories, laser engraved items, t-shirts, and more. Check them out and be sure to let them know that MTD sent you by using code MTDClaw when you check out and get 10% off of your order. You can also check out our good friend Keel over at Run Right Play. His Patreon link is in there. Keel is fostering a community of collaboration and creativity. Keel is one of the most lovely humans on this planet, and to know him is an honor. And Keel just does such amazing stuff in the spirit of collaboration and creativity. So be sure to check out the Patreon there. You can sign up for just a couple bucks a month, and you can get access to the digital zine that he puts out, or you can support at a little higher level and get a physical zine that he puts out as well. It's absolutely wonderful. Domain dice. If you look up above V in the upper right hand corner there, you will see where there's some domain dice, and I believe I owe you at least one of those right now. Domain dice are a way that you, the viewer, can have an impact on the player's actions by granting them domain dice to do things such as reroll, force me to reroll, use hit dice outside of healing, turn a failed saving throw into a successful a failed death saving throw into a successful death saving throw, or the Patron's Blessing, a super critical with 5 domain dice, which is double max damage, which we have seen put to great use. I believe Talmud did some 200 and something. I know it was over 200. It was a lot. Did it more than once. And Thorgarn has also put down some ridiculously high numbers as well with that. I think everybody has used the super critical at least a couple of times, but that's what they're there for, and they only get them through you by resubscribing, gift subs, 500-bit cheers, $5 tips, or you can also support through the Ko-Fi link, coffee link. I'm trying to call it coffee because that's what everybody calls it apparently. I don't know why I call it Ko-Fi, just because of the way it looks. But anyway, I've set up support tiers over there. There's goals. There's one-off tip tipping allowed as well. And all of that goes towards domain dice for the players during the game. So if you want to support the channel in that way, go ahead and do that. The link is either in the chat or it's right here, this little thing. See, I'm starting to hear it now, which I should be hearing all along. But all I have to do is out of the corner of my eye, I catch one or more of you doing this. It's usually Dan with the slight... Well, to be fair, Jeremy and V are usually giggling maniacally. But Dan, it was your slight tilt of the head.
State.
Right. Anyway, let's see.
4 out of 5 times, I'm reacting to Jeremy's expression, telling him, don't.
I just got to watch what I say, apparently. So, I think that is just about it. One thing I wanted to mention is be sure to check out fortnerd.com on Twitter to get the specific details, but I believe this Saturday is another one of the Team Squad Up Quest for the Cure games that is going on, and a week from Saturday I will be running one of the games as well. It's a Quest for the Cure side quest. It is this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/Team Squad Up. Our good friend Crucian Gal will be running the game, and some of our friends Neofet and Ali Parrish, Feliza Casano, Velvet Valhalla, Tennessee Martin, and Angelica Trey will be playing in the game. All of that money, of course, going for to benefit Duchenne muscular dystrophy research. Fort Nerd, our friend Gary from our Monday Night Scribes and Scrolls game, through this organization and through Quest for the Cure, has raised over $25,000 for Duchenne muscular dystrophy research. So please do, if you can, stop in, check the game out, and if you can support the cause, that'll be fantastic. The last thing, of course, that I want to mention before we get started is just to let you know that you matter. Your presence makes a difference here, and it can be difficult to realize that at times. We all have different things that we are struggling with, but you do not have to struggle alone. You do not have to struggle in silence. Jeremy has put up into the chat our help command. It's as simple as typing !help. That'll bring up the link there, findahelpline.com. Click on that link, bookmark it in your browser, save it for yourself, or save it for a friend in need. It is a very simple tool. Put in your location wherever you are in the world, and a variety of mental health services will show up with phone numbers, text numbers, websites, everything you need to reach out for whatever type of help you might be seeking. And we do encourage you to please use that if you need to. With that, I think it's time to play some more Dungeons and Dragons. Dawnbringers, you have been, as Ted/Thorgarn put it most recently, moving from one perilous situation to the next, chasing after danger, and barely having a chance to stop and breathe, whether it's a single night that lasts 3 months in the real world, or I think you made it through 3 days just in last session. As Dan said, days have become the new doors for the Dawnbringers. But in your quest to find the remainder of your lost vessel, the magical ship, the Evangeline, and more importantly, the crew that was on that ship, your quest led you ultimately to the Frostmaiden, but also to a once ally turned nemesis in the form of Vi, who became Vi the Corrupted, the druid who had ascended to archdruid levels and ultimately combined powers with the Frostmaiden, but was still no match for the Dawnbringers. As reunited with your spectator ally Victor, who is now Victor the Beholder, you were able to take out Vi the Corrupted / Ariel, or as you had dubbed her, Viral, and she is no more. You had already eliminated her curse by removing her giant rock bird, so she could no longer take to the air to cast her ritual, and now she is no more. And Icewind Dale has for days now been enjoying the rising sun each day, along with steadily rising temperatures. Though it's still cold, it's not as bitterly cold. Immediately upon diving out the windows of the castle and feather falling 600 feet to the ground below, Rollo put up the magical Rollo's House of Affirmations, and Thorgarn immediately set to work, along with the assistance of everyone else, to make a rudimentary replacement head for Fig, creating this steel contraption, but plating it in gold and carefully and successfully placing the mind gems back inside, and bringing Fig back to a physical state of being. You all returned after a well-deserved rest. You all returned through teleportation to Lonelywood, arriving in what once was a dilapidated inn, had been given to you by Nimsy Huddle, the town speaker of Lonelywood. Ramshackle is no longer a ramshackle rundown place, as Yesha and others have fixed it up. And Yesha sent one of Nimsy's sons to quickly go and let her know the Dawnbringers were back. And that is where we left off, as the Dawnbringers stepped out onto the front porch of the Ramshackle Inn to discover that all of Lonelywood was coming out to greet you in celebration of what you have accomplished. And that is where we are going to pick up now. And I would like to see what is going through the newly reformed Fig's mind, as you have once again been reunited with your physical body.
Fig is quite contemplative at this point, being so far removed from his own consciousness and choices and way of being. I think that's such a very unique thing for someone else to kind of understand or see the mind of someone else, and to kind of rely totally but on them. But it is, they can't help but feel just absolute overwhelming joy and comfort and feeling of belonging, that no matter what has happened, no matter where he's gone, he's always come home to his friends, to his family. And I think as he does so, if you allow it, last session I was listening and I loved the emoting, interchangeable emoting faces, little clip-ons. So
How do you feel about the magnetic beard?
Yep, we had basically said that we were going to leave that to you to decide what sort of additional elements, since you weren't there to make that decision. So absolutely interchangeable motives. I love it.
How do you feel about the magnetic beard? Because wizards have long beards, dwarves have long beards. It's apropos.
Yeah, absolutely. And they all have to be in different shapes and different... I imagine that some of them shimmer. They're all different colors, all crazy colors that he puts on. He's sporting right now a teal green mustache and a fluorescent orange beard. And he clips on a little grin on his face to show how happy and grateful he is.
Half Transformer, half Mr. Potato Head. Fig, make an insight check real quick. Or perception, whichever you prefer.
They're both the same. That's an 18.
You notice that you were, of course, reunited with your body when you teleported here. Ever since you were reassembled, and you then arrived here, you have not seen the sled dog team, and you have not seen Hermes. Also,
to be fair, isn't there a simulacrum out there as well?
Was the simulacrum completed?
Yep. I think so. Was he not?
I remember the simulacrum being completed.
Yeah, that's right, because you failed the first time. And then, yeah, okay. So yeah, this the simulacrum with no sense of self. You technically didn't die, so the simulacrum would still be intact.
You also have a spare head in the hat, by the way.
That's right.
So the simulacrum is probably with Hermes and the sled dogs, then, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I think we figured that it's probably been close to 5 days that they have been where they were since they were left by all of you, with between the battles with Vi and just transportation and all of that stuff.
Hasn't this been months in our time? It's only been 5 days.
Yes. The entire summer has been 5 days in game.
That's fucked up, man.
A bit.
And you're not even to the Feywild yet. Wait till you see what happens there. So all around you, as Fig, you are, as you are using your new interchangeable expressions and accessories, and just sort of looking around, all of you are being greeted by various members of the townsfolk. The halfling woman Nimsy Huddle, the town speaker for Lonelywood, is approaching, and she has her apron is still around her waist, and you can see that there's bits of still spots of flour. Her sleeves are rolled up. The cold doesn't seem to bother her at all, because it's not nearly as cold as it was when you all left. She was clearly in the midst of baking, but she comes running up to all of you. You sort of hear this voice, out of the way, move, as people are looking around, and they part, and here comes Nimsy Huddle up to all of you, and she doesn't hesitate to just immediately I imagine she goes up to probably Cantriel first, and then immediately just sort of hugging you and starts pulling anybody that's nearby that she can, just giving you all hugs, leaving little bits of flour on you as she does so. And oh, thank goodness. I was so concerned when we hadn't heard from you after we saw the sunrise. We can only assume that when the sun rose, the Dawnbringers had something to do with it. Is that right?
Oh, you're not wrong.
I mean, isn't it in the name?
Well, that's what makes for a great story. But I didn't want to make the assumption, especially when day after day went by and we didn't see you. We feared the worst, that it had come at a great cost.
Well, it took a bit of doing.
Is it done then?
It is. In all the many forms that she took, her dragon, her bird, castle.
Oh my. Dragons and birds and castles. I imagine you all have quite the tales to tell.
Aye, we do, and we've worked up quite an appetite, I would have to say. So, speaking of assumptions made, he kind of leaves that hanging, and there's like saliva gathering in the corners of his mouth.
Well, if there's anyone that's true about their character, and I just slap Talmud on the back.
What? We have to eat?
Well,
there's no better place.
Well, Talmud, my friend, you won't have to wait much longer. I dare say we've been feasting every day since the sun first rose. And now, with all of you returned, it shall be an even greater feast.
That's the best word I've heard all day.
Well, I guess we can take a little bit of time, but we do have things that need doing, groups that need to be collected back together. But there's time for stories to be shared.
Cantriel, Nimsy still standing nearby to you, just sort of looks up and a little quieter just says, have you been by any of the other towns?
Not yet, no.
I imagine similar celebrations, perhaps much larger in places like Brinjander and other places are taking place, but I haven't had a chance, and I know I'm going to need to gather with all of the other townspeakers soon. Things are changing for the first time in 2 years.
I can reach out to the town speakers I've met so far, at least. Touch base with them quickly. No one has to travel.
It's not of anything of urgent nature. I just wondered if maybe that was what held you up. If you had stopped at any other towns.
Oh, no. Hold up was distance, and of course, figuring out a few things along the way.
Of course, of course. Well, I can't imagine, though I understand you still have other things you have to do. I imagine now you'll want to go looking for your missing friends. But surely you have time to rest for a couple days.
Cantriel looks at the others and then back to her with just sort of a knowing glance. Quite frankly, I'm hoping we can get a little bit of rest before moving forward.
You're not anticipating
that would be wise.
You're not anticipating more danger, are you?
I hope not, but considering our history...
So I'll look to Cantriel. I mean, for the most part, I don't know how everybody else thinks, but Thorgarn sees her as our leader. And I just give you a knowing, like a look that just tries to give you like read my mind, because like we don't want to scare these people, but there is the thought pattern out there of Aviatrix's mate. So I don't think you can read my mind, but that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Cantriel's extremely observant, so I think it's like, micro expressions is all she needs at this point.
I mean, you all have been together long enough that you can at least everybody you can have those knowing looks and understanding of what somebody's trying to get across. Not telepathy, but like family, basically. Cantriel, you hear it first, as there seems to be a little bit of a commotion from the crowd. And then the rest of you hear it as people start gasping and people start moving and creating a wide berth. And Victor comes floating around.
Oh, right, that. He's with us, everyone. Not to worry.
You weren't afraid of me, were you? Surely you've seen a beholder before.
Show them the little ones. They'll get a kick out of that.
Would they?
I think the kids would.
I don't think they have they can help but see as 10 gazers are orbiting around. And
how much time did they hide behind him?
Everybody seeing there's no threat and that you all seem to be not reacting to it. People do give Victor a wide berth, but he just keeps floating around, and various of the gazers are like floating, zipping around, shooting into snowbanks. And sure enough, some of the children are starting to chase the gazers around and trying to catch them, but not being able to do so. And every once in a while, you'll see a kid suddenly freeze in place, or fall over asleep, or lightly lifted a couple feet into the air as Victor is using some of his more harmless effects and essentially playing with the children of Lonelywood.
You mean they're not going to disintegrate random townsfolk?
Only lightly.
Not. Yeah, lightly disintegrated.
I love that.
Victor's gonna open up his own barber shop in Lonelywood. It's all done through careful disintegration.
Laser hair removal.
No, that would be gazer hair removal.
Oh no.
I'll be here all night, everybody. I'll be here all night.
We've done it.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, Jeremy set it up and I knocked it down.
Just call it 1-2 punch.
All right, well, for the time being, you are free to do whatever you want. This is essentially going to be some downtime. We can kind of play around with time a little bit in terms of what all you want to do. If there's people you want to talk to, places you want to go, things you want to do, we can deal with those as they come up. But essentially, you're in downtime. The entire town is excited to have you back. Everybody is in a very celebratory mood. There is no shortage of food and drink to be found, and at least for now, as far as food and drink goes, nobody will accept coin from the Dawnbringers.
At some point, Talmud rushes up to Fig. Fig, come with me quickly, please. Look, Nimsy has put like a 3 tart limit on everyone, so I need you, if you're willing, to go and get 3 of her special tarts and just bring them back to me, just real quiet, if you could.
Fig nods and then takes some of like these expressions and puts on like a wink, like a very like overly dramatic wink, and then goes over. Hello. Those. And he looks back at Talmud. Tarts look simply the most digestible thing that I could have.
Sure, Fig. I suppose you'll be wanting 3 tarts for yourself to enjoy, yes?
Indeed. I think that the red gelatin is most appetizing.
I'm sure it will agree with you just fine. And she hands you a small linen with these 3 tarts wrapped up in it, ties a little bow around it, and as she hands them to you, she gives you a wink and says, "Tell Talmud the limit is for his own good. He's going to get a bellyache if he keeps eating these. Here you go, Fig. Enjoy your tarts."
Fig just nods and triumphantly walks over to Talmud.
Well done, Fig. Well done. You're a natural. Oh, thank you so much. I'm very glad to have you back, Fig. More than just for the tarts.
I think these new emotions are very beneficial to convey what I am feeling to others.
You're using them perfectly. Don't tell anyone, but you're now more emotive than Drown is.
That is a big compliment. I have always seen him as very showing of his emotions on his sleeve. Is that the word?
It's close enough. I don't think he has sleeves, but that's fine.
So I imagine that, been hanging around, this going on and kind of observing some of this conversation, unless you two are trying to keep this hush hush.
I think there's like a half-hearted attempt, but it's miserable, at least on Talmud's part.
In the background, Drown is picking up kids and tossing them into snowbanks, and they keep coming back. And so he just shrugs and keeps doing it.
So, Fig, I have to say that it was definitely a concern, but of you kind of going the way you did. I hope you are not displeased by this, this visage, as it is very different than what you had before.
I think Fig puts his hands down on your shoulders, Thorgarn, and he looks. Thank you for taking me all this way with you and keeping me safe and giving me a new face.
You know that you're as much kin and family as anyone else here. any of one of us would go to the ends of the world for you. You know that, right?
And I for all of you. And Fig looks and you are doing a good job, Thorgarn. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Oh, that's tough. It's been a long road, and he'll just start like hitting the bullet points of what you've missed. I don't know how much you've unpacked while being, kind of loosely in the subconscious, but totally spilling the beans about, did you know that Yesha is kind of sort of Talmud's kid, and that we got this new kobold friend over there. Perhaps the two of you might want to talk magic or share spell books or what have you. I know that's something that wizards tend to do. And he stops talking for a moment as he looks over his shoulder. And you can see that he's trying to say something, and he kind of forces it out of, I guess I won't be talking over my shoulder anymore.
Fig nods.
But if you need anything, if you're one of us, just whatever you need. And he just kind of walks away.
Fig... I think Fig stands there for a moment. And then... just says thank you again, and kind of not knowing how to express, really just kind of puts on just a smiling face again, which might look a little too excited with what he's trying to mean, but yeah. He just nods.
Cantriel would sort of walk up behind. He missed you. So much that he had to go. You know how those dwarves are, so stoic, and they keep their emotions close to themselves, so sometimes they have to go away for a little bit and just have some time to themselves. It's almost like they
big
disappear.
Emotions.
I feel very divided on the subject.
I guess we'll just wait and see.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll temporarily
Ghosted.
oh, this is
Ghosted.
This is just a
Ted, ghosted.
We got ghosted.
We got ghosted. Well, while we wait to see what's going on with Ted, we'll just leave that up there. Cantriel, you hear a little while later in the day, at some point you hear another sound coming from the southeast road that leads to the nearby town of Tourmaline. You've heard dogs barking and seen people driving their sleds around. here and there occasionally, and people have been moving between Lonelywood and Tourmaline and stuff. The weather and travel is a lot faster now that there's not blizzards blinding everybody and making them get lost. But you hear something else. As you hear the barking of dogs, you hear a familiar rhythmic metallic sound. As you turn, Cantriel, and you see coming down the middle of the road, you see a dog sled pulled by 3 dogs and Hermes, who is attached to the reins. What appears to be a snow and ice form of Fig sitting in the sled, holding one of the sled dogs, whose front leg is bandaged up and splinted. As they come, and upon seeing you, just comes to a stop in front of the ramshackle where you all are. It's Hermes and Simulacra and dogs. I forget who the dogs were.
The same names all over again, weren't they?
Yeah, I guess they were.
Cantriel would go over to the injured pup and do a cure wounds on the leg. Just sort of like remove the bandage and place her hand over and sort of, with one hand sort of rumple the scruff and the other hand would be gently on the wound.
As you approach the dog, Hermes unhooks himself from the sled and moves over and just gets really close, watching what you're doing. Just not in any way threatening, but just seems very concerned. And
Yes,
you just see as you're doing the healing process, he's standing in place and his feet are just going tick, 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 as he's very anxious.
Hermes, give me just a moment and the pup will be just fine. You did a good job taking care of them. You did well. Why don't you go see if the children want some sled rides? I'm sure they'd love it, and the dogs can get some rest. You can pull the sled behind you.
When you say rest, Hermes sort of stands up and looks at you and the simulacrum and the dogs and takes a step back for a moment, leans down, pats the lead dog that seems to understand as it just sits on its haunches, and Hermes goes walking away and immediately walks up to Fig, where he is just standing there, having not seen you in some time.
Fig looks to Hermes and immediately begins to do like the look over of, you know, is everything okay? Is everything in working order? And just like even asking, how was your trip? Ah, I see. That will have to be calibrated. And just, yeah, focusing on that.
Fig, looks like we got Ted coming back. There we go. All right. No worries. It happens. Fig, Hermes, in your voice, you hear almost like Bumblebee, bits and pieces of things that Hermes has overheard you say. And Hermes, as you're looking him over, he stands there perfectly, letting you do everything you need to do to make sure he's okay. It's not complete sentences, but he says to you, waited. Days. Cared for dogs. Not real you. Very quiet. Didn't wait long. Came to Lonelywood. Good to see you.
Fig takes a step back and looks. When did you learn to do that?
Do? What?
To speak with words, though disjointed.
Always have words. Figure 2, Prometheus. Never use. Hermes. Messenger.
Fig immediately begins scribbling notes. This is the most fascinating thing at that moment to him. He just totally is absorbed in this and will ask Hermes these questions that over and over, some that are seemingly very strange. But yeah, he writes everything that Hermes says.
For mechanical purposes, Hermes, in your extras tab on your character sheet, has the messenger ability, which basically lets you use him as a messenger. It's actually a feature that's been there since you've had him. But Hermes has basically learned to co-opt that messenger ability to essentially, obviously he's always listening when you're around, and he's basically just co-opting it to rudimentarily be able to communicate with you.
Awesome. That's so cool. And yeah, Fig is going to spend the next little while with Hermes, just going through things and just asking him how he's feeling and, you know, emotions and stuff like that. And is just trying to it's like when an older brother learns something and then is so excited to teach it to this younger sibling, but it's not translated correctly. So Fig is trying to explain emotions and expressing them to Hermes. And
I imagine Fig is using the different like attachments to
Well,
like explain.
There's a point where, as you're just talking with Hermes is his head just keeps sort of moving from side to side, and then at some point he just reaches up and sort of almost reaches out to touch your face and hesitates before actually touching it and says, Figure 2, Prometheus. Look different. Hermes likes.
Fig puts on a smile and looks to Thorgarn and the others. They did a good job for organics, putting me back together.
Hermes rotates his head disconcertingly to perhaps some of the organics around, but probably not to you, as it goes almost 180 degrees around to look at the others. Good organics. Then rotates back to look at you, Fig. Not as good as dogs.
Fig nods. Never as good as dogs.
So yeah, you're able to work with both with Hermes and your simulacrum, as I understand it, is essentially will follow your orders and work with you. You have the spell information, so you have the mechanics of what's there. But yeah, you basically have 2 robot assistants now. Or again, I should say. You spent so much time trying to cast that spell, and when you finally cast it, you left them behind, and then you were gone. But don't worry, it's only been a couple days. So yeah, you're able to basically the ability to speak rudimentarily is really the only new addition that Hermes has. Otherwise, everything is listed in the stat block. Is there anything else that anybody else wants to specifically do?
I had a question. I've got a note here about a smith in Lonelywood. Was Bryn Dolan the smith who was doing a half-arsed job, or actually a good job?
Oh, that was the dude in Bryn Shander that was doing half-ass work.
Okay. So Bryn Dolan was not the credit guy. All right. Yeah, that was the dude. Who's the guy you got? Bryn Dolan.
Okay.
Says Smith and Lonelywood. It's the only note I have here.
Just checking. Yeah, okay. Yep. Yeah, the dude in Bryn Shander was the one you didn't like.
Okay. Well, I mean, there was some conversation, and there was the possibility of the other guy possibly turning himself around. So I was gonna, if that was this guy, I was gonna check on him. But if that's not the case, Thorgarn is gonna kind of go off and just try to. We talked about, we might be here for a couple of days, so he would probably tell Talmud that he'll be back, and he'll take a moment, summon Herna, and just kind of go a little ways out of town and just be alone for a bit, come to terms with what his fear being thrust in his face means, and that he's gotta be okay with it. Part of a team and part of a family, and that's all great, but he's got to overcome.
All right, I need you to talk amongst yourselves. I have to step away for just a quick moment. I'll be right back.
So at some point, as the night sort of goes on, or the evening wears on, is Talmud ever kind of low key off by himself, just chilling by a fire, having a drink, something?
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Right.
Absolutely.
So at some point where you're not like swamped in kids or people or whatever, Drown will come over and settle down onto a chair or a bench, and it'll creak, and the picnic table will shift toward him. Talmud.
Hey, big guy.
And he'll slide a fresh mug over to you.
Oh, my favorite person.
I'm curious.
Mhm.
You and Thorgarn both carry the spirits of your departed kin with you. Yes?
Aye, in a fashion. I don't know how many of our kin it is that follow Thorgarn around. But I know that there's things that he can do that are similar to my own abilities.
Yes. They do not look the same, but in battle, you both call upon these spirits to aid you and the rest of us. It
Aye.
has been advantageous.
Well, I'm happy to hear that because
There was...
honestly,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
honestly, it's not something that I recall.
You
I
do seem
didn't,
to lose your memory when the other faces overtake you.
Aye.
Is this something you chose to be able to do?
You know, it's not something that I would consider having been my choice, but I suppose in a fashion I allowed it to happen. If
Are the
that makes
tattoos
sense.
part of it, or are they merely a mark of it?
You know, when I first got the tattoos, it was mainly just based on tradition, and I chose them because I thought that they looked well, they looked good, and made me look tough, honestly. But
They do.
it seems as though they are connected somehow, and I suspect the person that gave them to me might have had a hand in that.
It seems likely that if they are part of it, the one who tattooed you knew what they were doing.
I have had that thought myself.
There was a great deal of consternation with Thorgarn and Father Graffin. Belief that
Griffin, yeah,
Thorgarn
it's-
had trapped that spirit with his inability to let go.
Thorgarn has a habit of getting down on himself a lot. He carries a lot of weight around with him that he doesn't need to. I don't think that Father Griffin was trapped. I think that he was there to help. The way that I think he helped Thorgarn in life. And I think Thorgarn had a hard time letting go, but he'll be all right.
My understanding is that that spirit is now no longer following him, or bound, as the case was. Do you feel that you have trapped the spirits that follow you?
No, if anything else, the other way around, honestly.
That is fascinating.
I can't really explain it. It's almost like fainting or drinking so much that you pass out.
Yes.
Everything goes black. And when I wake up, usually I'm covered in whatever it was that was standing before me.
That is accurate.
So there's times when I feel, well, I guess the closest thing I can think to explain it would be shame. But I don't remember what I did or what I said. And I know sometimes that those that take my place can be a little bit, brash.
Some of them are quite unreasonable.
You should try having them as relatives for a while.
Would you wish to be rid of them?
You know, that's a question I've asked myself several times. I don't know. On the one hand, I'd like to be, in control of myself all the time. But I get the distinct feeling that sometimes some of the things that I don't see is probably better that way.
Do you think that they are protecting you when you're in danger?
from the stories that Thorgarn has told me, no. It doesn't sound like they're doing a very good job of protecting me. But in a way, they seem to watch out for me. And I think they seem to watch out for all of us on some level.
I have never known them or you, while they are using your flesh, to be anything other than staunch allies. Their decision making is often quick.
There's not usually a lot of thought and planning that goes into, well, much of the way that the Gedouin clan does things.
That is what I meant.
You're very careful with your words, Drown, and I appreciate it.
I find myself curious about this particular ability of yours. It seems to be a shared thing amongst your kin, your clan, though that may be coincidence.
It's not something that's ever really been talked about much. But given how readily I have access to ancestors going back further than I can count, honestly, it seems like it is something that connects us, you know?
Yes. Does it bother you that you can't remember? You cannot remember?
At times, I know that there's been times when I've said some pretty hurtful things, and there's been times when I've swung my weapon at people who were friends of mine. It's never been intentional, mind you, but there's, like I said, it's a small amount of shame that comes with not being able to remember what I've done. Feeling responsible, even if it, if it wasn't me.
I understand. Thank you for explaining.
Of course.
And then he
Thanks
kind of drains half his tankard.
Yeah, he follows suit.
That's it.
Talmud. At some point later in the day, Yesha comes looking for you, and she just says, first when she comes up to you, it's the first chance she's really had to talk to you since you've been talking with everybody else since you got back, and she shows up with a tankard, and she also hands you a familiar looking linen wrapped package. You can see the red leaking through some of these darts.
My favorite person, he says as he takes the things, the offerings.
Are you talking about me, or are you talking about Nimsy Huddle?
You wee one. How are you?
I'm very good, actually.
Are you happy?
Make a perception check.
I think that's a 21.
She smiles when you ask that, and she sort of turns to the side, and you see that she is staring over at, I just lost his name again. Ravnos, was that it?
Ravos.
Yes, she's looking over at Ravos, and he is where Drown is throwing kids into a snowbank. Ravos is helping to dig them out, and she smiles, and she just sort of looks back at you and yes, I'm very happy now. Here in Lonelywood, I don't think I would have said this a week ago, but now with the forever night gone, I think I want to stay here. I think I have a future here.
I've certainly seen that look before. And if it is in fact the same, then I'm happy for you. It's not a common thing to find. So if you feel like you found it, then you should stay.
If it wasn't for all of you, I wouldn't even be here.
Aye, but not a one of us that couldn't say that. If any one of us had tried to do what we do by ourselves, I can't count how many times I wouldn't have walked away.
Most nights, whenever I closed my eyes, I was tormented. Tormented by the things I saw and what I thought was my fate back there in that horrible spire with the vampires. But within just a few days of arriving here, the nightmare stopped. That's how I knew that this is where I want to be. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure where in the world we are.
I'm told it's called Icewind Dale.
I mean,
I don't know.
I know the name of it, but where is Icewind Dale? We teleported here.
Far north, I think I heard someone mention.
Well, that means that everything that I had to endure before is below and behind, and I've no desire to go back to it. If it is okay with you and the rest of the Dawnbringers, I thought I could run the Ramshackle. Maybe give it a new name? It doesn't. Ramshackle doesn't really fit anymore. I mean, it belongs to you. Nimsy Huddle and the town gave it to you, and it is yours. But I would stay here and keep it safe for you and make sure that you always have a safe place to return to. Or to, visit.
It may be ours in name, but I don't think any of us have the capability of running it the way that you do. I think it only makes sense that if you're happy here and you're a part of the Dawnbringers, that it would be best that you represent us here.
I mean, only if it's okay with all of the Dawnbringers, but I would like to stay on stay here, live at the inn, and again you catch her looking over at Ravos. We could make it an incredible place. More and more people have been traveling from Tourmaline and other places. We might even have visitors, and who knows, the place might even make a little bit of money.
With any luck. And we could certainly make an effort to stop by. It's a bit out of the way, but I think with the magic that Drown has, and well, I'd like to come back for one.
I think there's room in the cellar that we could designate a space with no breakable furniture in it, and maybe Drown could take a piece of the stone from the cellar. That way you're not popping right into the main room of the inn when we maybe have guests, and we don't have to keep repairing furniture.
That's
oh,
fair.
That reminds me. And she suddenly sits up. Come here. There's something I wanted to show you. And she
Gets up and takes the tarts and the tankard with him.
She leads you inside and goes around towards the back through a room, and there's a door set in the floor that she opens up, and it's a trap door, but it's sort of longer. It's not a ladder, it's a set of stairs leading down into the cellar. And she takes a lantern off of one of the shelves and lights it, and then heads downstairs into the cellar. When we first got here, we spent a lot of time with the help of the town and a lot of the loggers moving all of the wood out. So much wood. I bet we spent 4 days getting just the squirrels out of this place. Eventually we were able to get down in here and, well, we were able to get rid of there was a lot of old, moldy old food and barrels that had rotted away. Not much of any use, but I found this crate. And it's got dwarvish runes on it. So I thought either you, or Thorgarn, of course, would be able to tell what it was. To be honest, one of the things that I learned with you going through the spire is to take nothing for granted. I told Ravos, nobody touches it, nobody moves it until you all have a chance to look at it. But there it is. And you see a crate that is probably about 2.5 feet. It's about a little over a foot tall, a couple feet deep. A good size crate. No special translation at all. As soon as you see the words on the crate, you immediately recognize the one word that is on there. Skirgan. And the date that is on it is even older than the Kiergan that was in Oakhurst. Aged fine dwarven ale. At least that's what the box says.
It's a good thing that nobody has touched this. Very dangerous. I should he kind of like licks his chops and like sets the tankard that he's been drinking like on the shelf nearby, and he's going to go inspect the crate. Okay. All the talk about the caution that they've taken and leaving it alone up to this point, it in true Talmud fashion goes right out the window.
All right, so you walk over and you just, by inspecting the crate, you mean you just open it?
Of course. That's how Talmud inspects things.
You are able to open it. It had some little latches with like twine that was holding it closed, but the twine is so old that it just snaps when you go to open it. And as you open it up, inside are 23 bottles of Kiergan.
Oh my.
There is a space where it looks like there was supposed to be a 24th bottle. But in that space is a piece of burlap with a small bundle, probably about the size, probably about this big, that's wrapped up in twine.
After he kind of mops up a little bit of the drool, he's going to look down and notice that one of them is missing. First and foremost, there's that pang of an incomplete collection. But then he realizes that there's something in its place, and he's going to reach down. Oh, I wonder what this is. And of course, he's going to pick it up and just, snap the twine if it's as old as the other stuff. And
yep.
Open it.
Opens easily. It's got a little bit of heft to it. Feels like it maybe. Maybe is close to a pound. You open it up and you see what initially looks to be looks like it's made of ivory or bone. It is an icosahedron, each side emblazoned with a different rune, and it looks exactly like this. And that's where we're going to take a break. I will send a photo of this to you in our chat so you can see a better view of what it looks like. And we can go from there. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and take a 10-minute break. Thank you, everybody who has tuned in so far. And thank you to all of the lovely subscribers and stuff donating domain tomes to everybody. Yeah, stick around. We'll be back in just about 20 minutes. Or 10. I don't know why I said 20. 10. 10 minutes. See you on the other side. I hit the button and nothing happened. We are now seeing from the POV of the 20-sided stone that Talmud has just found and is peering at. So Talmud, we left off with you discovering this bizarre 20-sided stone with all of these runes carved into it.
That's strange. I have no idea what this is. Somehow it feels like it controls my fate, but I can't quite put my hand on it. Or I can. I have no idea what this is.
Is that some sort of case incentive for buying a whole case of Kiergan?
Maybe. I heard it worked for Arby's. Sorry.
So is this Yesha just looks, as you're looking at this stone, she just looks at this case. So this is more ale. Should I bring it up for the party?
Oh no. It may not be safe to drink. We should sample it first, at the very least. As a matter of fact, he kind of like looks around as if he's about to do something illicit, and he like reaches in and grabs one of the bottles and kind of breaks the wax seal off of the top and just kind of like lets it breathe for just a second as he like hovers over the neck of the bottle.
Is that liquor or is it ale?
It's a dwarven ale. So there is a difference. And
Sorry.
this is... Oh, no. It's an educational moment. This is very old. Very rare. I'm gonna take some. And he just like straight to the lips, just clugs a few back.
All right. That's a Constitution saving throw.
This is a poison. Yes.
Technically,
Don't you just love it when those players pull that? Actually, I have advantages on saving throws versus poison. So that's a very high number. 27.
first of all, you have learned to, you know what to expect with Kiergan, and you took a few sips, so it's not hitting you super hard, but this flavor is so much bolder and richer and just more complex than the other Kiergan you've had. The date on the case precedes the other stuff by at least 2 centuries. This is really old. Very well preserved. Yeah, it's just this is the good stuff. So yeah, no negative effects for you from that. So are you gonna share, or do I get my own bottle? As she reaches into the case.
Oh, no. Here. Please. Take some of this one. Oh, here. And he kind of like wipes his sleeve on the top of the bottle.
She just kind of gives you a look. I never figured you for a beer snob. And she takes a big swig of it. Oh my gosh. I rolled her con save. I rolled a natural 1.
I was going to say, it's either a 1 or a 20. With that face. Wow, okay.
And she only has a +2 to her con. So she takes this bottle of Kiergan and... Oh. That is... Right. Oh, it tastes like... It tastes like the sludge in the bottom of a cask.
No.
Nope.
And he kind of like redirects her away from the case. No. Maybe some fresh air.
I think... Oh, I think I'm going to need to lie down.
Oh,
You sure it's not liquor?
No, it's an ale. They're just stout folk. He kind of like puts the lid a little bit back on it, puts it on a nearby shelf, and he's going to close the case. If there's any kind of like canvas tarp or burlap or anything like that, he's going to kind of discreetly throw that over the case and then escort her back up to fresh air.
Yeah, she's not completely hammered from a few swigs, but it is very strong stuff. And it doesn't last super long. But she's very like, whoa. Right. It's best to leave that stuff for the dwarves, I think. Whew.
That's a grand idea.
I'm feeling much better.
Good. And yes, what we were talking about before.
Oh, yeah.
I think the rest of the Dawnbringers will agree, but I think it's a good idea to go ahead and discuss it with them anyways. But if you are intending on making a life here for yourself, and if you happen to do what a lot of young couples do and have a daughter, could I make a request? Maybe you could consider naming her Brownie. It's just a thought.
She just looks up at you. And she reaches over and puts a hand on your shoulder. I promise you I will make it so. And she just leans over and kisses you on the cheek.
Yeah, he kind of falls uncharacteristically silent, and just kind of just hangs his head but nods.
All right, well, I'm sure Nimsy's got more of those tarts, and there's plenty more food and celebration to be had.
Of course. Right, we should get back to the party.
And you head out. Does anybody else have anything they want to do while you're here? And again, this doesn't all have to be on the same day. If there's just things you want to do in preparation over the next few days, or any plans or conversation amongst yourselves that you'd like to do.
Nobody else has anything, so like I would imagine, Thorgarn spent a couple hours just, on the outskirts of town, or out of town, just trying to take it all in for a moment. But the following morning, he would try to get everybody together to try and figure out, like, okay, well, the thought was initially to go, grab our missing team members before we begin heading towards the mountain, but that the team already came to us, so we only have really one direction to try and go in, but want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
I believe we wanted to investigate the crater where the dragon's carcass was.
That's definitely something worth doing.
That is a short trip from here. You can simply make it on foot rather than risking the helmet.
So, Fig, do you have any questions? You've kind of been out of it for a while.
I have the gist of things, I think, and I will have questions, I'm sure, as we go along.
But you're good.
Yes, I am good.
And who was it that saw the vision of the single dragon scale? Was it Cantriel?
You would know, based on your previous travels, and now with both having daylight and blizzards don't seem to be just perpetually happening, that you could travel on the road from Lonelywood to where this crater is in probably 6 to 8 hours. Less by dog sled. That would be on foot. So it is easy enough to head out there whenever you wanted to do that. Is that something you guys would do as a day trip then?
Probably, yeah.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, like I said,
After the
it's
party.
easy enough to do. You can plan for it. I would say 3 to 4 hours traveling by dog sled. And it's enough that if you wanted to, depending, you can head out there and you can possibly even make it back in the same day, depending.
I just had a thought. Refresh me, but when we destroyed the Chartlan dragon, we had talked about recovering all of its wreckage from the stream. That's something we still wanted to make sure was on our radar?
I think we had talked to the townsfolk about it and told them that it would be in their best interest to take it out of the water and not mess with it anymore, but it would probably be a good idea to double check that.
You actually hadn't
we hadn't.
You hadn't talked to because everybody from Dugan's Hole evacuated.
That's right. Okay.
But in fact, you are the only ones that know that the Chartlan sculpture, as it were, rests at the bottom of the Red Waters.
Because I think we were basically talking about that's gonna, essentially irradiate their
Right.
their stream. So
Some rad
just
roaches
how
running
about-
around.
How about we do this day trip? Go Dugan's Hole, get the dragon dealt with.
that's probably going to be a big job. And then what are we going to do with it? I think is the main issue.
Can it be destroyed?
I mean, we can
Can-
break it into pieces, but
Can the Chartlan be, I don't know if this is the right word, purified, sanctified,
cleansed.
There you go.
I have absolutely no idea. That would be your and Fig's domain.
I would be more than willing to try and figure that part out. You look like you have a thought there, Talmud.
Just maybe whatever experiments are going on with this stuff is limited.
Yes,
I think.
not touch it with my skin.
Or keep it in my hat. That was a bad idea.
Well, I am not saying we should deal with that now, merely that we should not forget.
And soon probably would be better.
I mean, every day that goes by is further contamination.
Fig, can you disintegrate? I don't know if the Chartlan would be vulnerable to it anyway, but
Victor
What
can.
about
One one gazer just sort of floats over and just
right.
kind of starts. You just see these 4 little eyes, and you just hear disintegrate, disintegrate,
Hold that thought, Tulip.
disintegrate.
Not yet, Tulip.
that's right. We have Tulip.
Love that
And
Tulip
Lily
is the one
and
that
Rose and
disintegrates.
Jasmine.
That is our failsafe if we cannot find a way to purify the Chartlan and stop it from corrupting whoever is near it. Delightful.
All right.
Well,
So is this?
toward the crater then.
Look, I imagine this conversation you're having on the road while you're heading towards the crater.
Jake, let me ask this question, if I may. Does the touch of the Chartlan, does it feel like a contamination of something within the metal itself? or was it is the metal itself magical, bestowing some kind of curse upon those who touch it?
I would say you can make an Arcana check at
And I will say
advantage.
that, I was gonna say I'll talk to Fig on this journey to try and see if we can.
So yeah, whichever one of you wants to make the Arcana check, you can do so at advantage.
I would prefer Fig do that because I roll at a +1.
Yeah, I roll it up +10.
Literally 10 times better at magic than you.
Actually, now that I don't have Fig's brain attuned to, I would roll that at a +0.
I'm gonna use a domain die because I rolled a 3.
Okay.
Did you roll with advantage?
Oh no, I didn't.
Yep, roll with
Oh, that's
advantage.
exciting. 21.
That's better.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, no domain die needed. So, you recall both of you spent quite a bit of time studying this, and Fig, you've had time sort of just in the state you were in, where you were literally just a mind, to sort of constantly, it's like you're in the background, you're constantly sort of you're subconsciously perusing the vast stores of knowledge you have. You know, with that roll, that the Chardolin is very susceptible to magical enchantments. That it can be worked in a way that it can be formed, if it can be worked and formed into things like wands or staffs, or used in weapons. When you encountered the Chardolin Berserkers, they were using crudely crafted Chardolin weapons with no enchantments. But you know that the type of material that this is, it's a bizarre combination of physical material and this arcane debris, really, shrapnel from however long ago, that's more crystalline than it is metal, but it is workable like metal to some extent. However, the type of magic that is used in enchanting it can determine how this enchanted object is. In other words, if magic of the upper planes is used, you can create a consecrated magical item. And magic of the lower planes will create a desecrated magic item. So
this stuff is basically like a magic sponge.
Yes, and it's going to absorb the essence of the
currently crackling with bad stuff.
Yep, it's essentially you could almost say it's not quite parasitic, but almost parasitic in that it's latching on to whoever is in proximity to it. It doesn't have like an immediate, all of a sudden you're corrupted, but prolonged exposure to it in its raw form, it's so chaotic that it just seems to drive into these darker natures, which seems to be its default nature, is darker.
So based off of what you just said, I could kind of break it down, forge it into blocks, and when you rework and reforge the metal, I can kind of work out the negative and kind of begin putting in positive energy?
Theoretically.
Nice.
Yeah, how much does, like, I guess, like, how much of this negative energy, though, is there? Is that something Fig thinks that we could purge and then replace with good energy? Or is it like so overwhelmingly?
At this point, it's theoretical. You don't even know how to work with it or how to exactly enchant it yet. This is you've basically your role gave you the theory, the hypothesis that you could work with it in this way. You don't know how much magical energy you'll have to push into it to override it, but you do get the sense that it would accept lower planes desecrating magic more readily than upper planes magic. What's involved in that, you don't know. The only basis you have even for anything like this is the ritual you all participated in with Thorgarn modifying Girta Brilne. And that wasn't even using Chardalyn.
Perhaps if we could find a place that was suffused or touched by the sort of magic we prefer it to have, we could leave it there to absorb that.
What? I know we are very far away, but there was that priest. Vic was there for that. Yes, he was. That priest that cleansed Griveth.
No. I mean, you're all more than welcome to go on a venture back to Saltmarsh if you want. I ain't going.
Not Saltmarsh, but we all went through that ritual, so we know a bit of what happened.
You all went through it.
I can perform ceremonies. I mean, I can do that kind of stuff. I mean, that's, to some extent, that is fairly beginner level clerical stuff. It's not something I'm leaping to do, but the thought processes of ritualizing something I'm familiar with.
Perhaps the werebear we met in the cabin. She seemed quite knowledgeable. She might know of a place. Or someone who does.
How do we transfer it all?
We will have to carry it, most likely.
Fig, I know you're probably not eager to carry this stuff in your hat, but how much could you carry in your hat if we needed you to?
I don't think we're talking about carrying the entire dragon. I think we're talking about demolishing most of it and saving a fair bit for a sled or what have you to turn into something worthwhile and useful to make a positive effect on this world. But there's no way to use that much Chardalyn.
If it's a matter of breaking it apart, I can help with that at least. Just stand behind me.
Noted.
Perhaps we should have a chest or cask lined with lead. That is effective at blocking much magic. Perhaps it will make it safe to carry.
It's a project, for sure.
That should please you.
Yeah, I like doing work like that.
Yes.
Even if there's a lot to do.
All right. So
Go back to the other town is just going to be wall to wall Chardalyn berserkers.
Well, then we have a town that we can own, you know. Who needs one inn when you can own the town? Right? No?
all right. So you've been having this conversation as you've been traveling towards where this, where you remember this crater to be, and you eventually get to where you believe you went off the road, between Bryn Shander and Targos, on the road to Targos. Whoever is leading the dog sleds needs to make a survival roll for me.
My survival's a 6.
I got a 4. So have at it.
That's going to be a 24. 18 on the die.
You seem to be moving almost instinctively, just sort of remembering the path you traveled, though you're now seeing it in daylight and you're seeing quite a ways without having to worry about the blizzard and the darkness and all that. So, with that good of a survival roll, you also notice, as you are approaching, you see where the ground dips down. There's snow, there's dirt is churned up around it. A lot of the area looks like it's been heavily trafficked by something. And then you see, and I'll say you're probably anywhere as far away as you want to stop, within around 100 feet or so, as you see up coming from a low side on the other side of the crater, you see something dark move upward, cresting the hill, and you see a giant woolly mammoth. And you can almost feel its footsteps. And then from inside the crater, you see a head rise up and look towards the mammoth. And then duck back down. There is absolutely no mistaking from any of you, having not too or fairly recently dealt with one of these. There is a frost giant in the crater. What would you like to do?
Was that another one of those frost giants?
It seems to be.
This one's alive, though.
You're able to speak
Yes.
to them, aren't you?
Most likely, yes.
Do you know much about giants? These
Some.
tend to be more on the nice side or more on the dark side?
Frost giants are raiders and breakers of beasts.
So, yeah, that would be not the nice side.
Well, there is only one of him. Well, we think.
Flashing back to the decrepit frost giant that whipped Drown's ass.
I will say, because yes, it was a decrepit old frost giant. You saw the head and shoulders of this giant poking up out of the crater. It is not decrepit. It is not old. It is well muscled.
Well, Drown will sort of look around at everyone. If there's no immediate objection or other thoughts, he'll raise his voice and call out in giant. Greetings. We have no wish to fight you.
Immediately you see almost sorry, this image just popped in my head. You just see from the crater this frost giant just prairie dogs up. And in giant, you hear,
Who said that? Where are you? Show yourself.
Are we not standing in plain sight, or are we still a ways out, or?
You didn't clarify exactly how far, but I said you could stop anywhere after you're about potentially 100 feet away.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and move up closer.
You see a long steel or not steel, sorry, a long wooden lance. It looks as if it's carved from the mast of a ship as it doosh, and uses it to sort of like a walking stick as it climbs up out, and you see the full height of this well-muscled frost giant.
What do you want, little giant?
We slew a dragon here. One of my companions. John just sort of sighs like this again. Okay.
You slew a giant. A dragon.
Yes.
Sorry.
Arviatris.
What?
Immediately stops laughing.
She tried to eat us. We were in no mood to be food. One of my companions had a vision of her empty grave. We came to see if it was true. From here, I would say that it is.
He looks around back at the crater.
Because I should be able to see the carcass of the dragon, right? Or was it like driven that deep into the ground? Right?
It wasn't driven that deep, and you know the state it was in when you left. You should, at the very least, at a Skyrim, you should be able to see a dragon skeleton poking through the snow.
That shit's on the map. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not seeing anything. As he looks back down,
You slew Arviatris.
We did. She gave us no choice.
And what did you do with the great worm's body afterward? You
left it
claimed
where
the
it
whole
lay.
thing as trophies?
No, we left it where it lay. It should be there where you stand. May we approach. We come in peace.
I would say that I am not worried about your intentions. But it appears I am in the presence of tiny dragon slayers. Approach.
And so Drown will sort of wave forward and say, he believes us for now, but this feels tense. We can go
Should we
forward.
show him the scale?
He seems to believe us, but that may help solidify it for him. I do not know. There is no love lost between giants and dragons. In fact, there is much bitter hatred, so I hope this will not make us enemies.
Great, I guess.
Talmud waves.
Head closer.
as you head closer, you feel, even as you're riding on the sled, you feel the ground quaking as this giant steps. I mean, this giant's towering nearly 20 feet high. As he heads over to the mammoth, and you can see now as the mammoth has come up toward him, you can see the rough saddle and tack that is on this mammoth. This mammoth is his mount. As you approach and come to a stop, you see down now into the crater. And it looks as though you see where the snow is obviously pressed down from where he was walking around in there. But it looks like he may have been using his hands or his lance to dig around, churn up snow, and dig far enough down as he was looking for any sign. As you approach,
Vermin were here. Dragons, or goblins, kobolds, wolves, what have you. If you left the carcass, as you say, they would devour the meat, but not the bones.
Is there any sign of anything else there? Kind of look over at Cantriel or others who are decent at tracking.
But this whole thing is this whole conversation is happening in Giant, right?
it is.
Oh, right. So Drown will be translating as the
Fair
giant
enough.
speaks.
Yeah, we-
interpreting.
So I would take a look and see if I can confirm what Drown is translating for me.
You're going to investigate the crater?
Yeah.
Go for it. Investigation.
Can I survival it?
I'll allow it.
Awesome.
I guess if investigation will work, I'll do that.
I'm a domain die that. That's better. That's a 22.
Okay. And Drown's investigating.
Sure. Ooh, 13. That gives me a dirty 20.
The two of you go down into the crater and begin looking around, seeing mostly, of course, the signs of the frost giant having trampled the area, but he kept his footprints and where he was, for the most part, away from where the carcass had laid. There's places where he dug in around it, but with both of you, with your rolls, you notice that, well, the obvious fact is, of course, there's nothing left here of this dragon. But there's nothing to show any signs that large quantities of bone were taken away.
Any, like, claw tracks in the frozen ground where it stood up?
You see marks of dragon's claws around the edges, not able to define exactly what they are, what dragon they might belong to.
Gouges.
But gouges nonetheless. And the way the snow and everything is around this crater, it looks as if the skeleton was lifted or flew out of the crater.
Another dragon either took the bones, or I suppose it is possible they were animated and left of their own.
Well, we had heard rumor of its mate.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'll ask the giant, do you speak the tongue of the small ones?
I have no need to know that language.
He'll just nod once, and then he'll interpret for the giant as well, so we're not just jabbering around him and
Sure.
unknown to him. Not going to be rude. Certainly not when someone's using a friggin' ship mast as a lance.
Fig is gonna cast Detect Magic. And walk down. Well, I guess it's only 30 feet, but he is going to begin to kind of walk towards the edge, just to see if he can pick up anything spooky and undead-y.
Okay.
Any remnants or anything like that?
You do notice the first thing you notice, and I would say most all of you notice this, except maybe Fig, is as soon as Fig starts to cast, the frost giant grabs the lance with both hands. He doesn't raise it threateningly.
What is it doing?
It says to you, Drown.
He is going to cast a spell to help us investigate. We mean no harm. We do not wish to test our might against you. We do not think it would go well for us.
It wouldn't. If I sense any ill intent, I will wear you all as trophies.
And he's watching Fig closely. Fig, I want you to make an Arcana check.
So I'll sort of say, the magic makes him nervous. Don't do anything that could be perceived as a threat.
I think, Fig would look genuinely surprised because he's just, doing his own... He looks suddenly to the giant. And I'm going to use a domain die for that Arcana check.
Oh no.
They freeze?
I think they froze.
Frozen.
Yep. I thought they were just super
into
their roll.
Em was very shocked for a moment. And now Em is incredibly shocked.
I thought I saw a 17 pop up.
I saw a 17 pop up.
Oh, I wasn't
17
I wasn't
popped
in
up
the
on
character
Dawn.
sheet, so
17.
Oh no.
It's very
I mean, there
unfortunate
could be
timing.
worse shots for.
Yeah,
yes,
that's not
I've
a
seen
bad still.
much worse
Thankfully.
frozen screenshots.
That is not a bad still, at least.
Oh, yeah, there they go.
Yeah.
Did I freeze like that too when I?
No, you instantly dropped.
Flat out left.
You just bounced. Yeah, you were out.
I think Cantriel said something about, he's like that, and you just bamfed out of there. Just Em is blaming their cat. Oh no! Beethoven turned the computer off.
Oh no!
I use a laptop and a docking station, and there is a power button on the corner of the docking station that the damn cats will step on as they walk across it. Put everything to sleep.
That's awful.
Oh my gosh. Well, I want to wait till Em's back for the reveal since they cast the spell.
Yep, that's fine.
So we'll give Em a moment.
Frost giant, huh? How's that working out for you?
I don't
Well, you
know.
know, it pays the bills.
I don't know how possible it is to do this, but because I can't hear the words, so I just want to, to try and see if I can sense, just based off of facial features and stance, what the mindset of this frost giant is.
I mean, you can make an insight check, but it's going to be a high DC.
Yeah, that's what I was, Yeah, that's not going to do it. It's a 14.
No, for all you know, he's going to either shake Drown's hand or run him through with that lance. You don't know which. And he seems just as likely to do either. Oh, hold on.
It was a crapshoot. We had time to kill.
As Fig is investigating, the frost giant is looking back at you, Drown.
How did you kill her?
With powerful magic, courage, and force of arms.
It took all of you to bring her down.
Yes. She earned her reputation.
For how many days did you fight her?
It was over much faster than that. It would be decided quickly one way or the other.
About 42 seconds.
How many of your party perished in her jaws?
None. All of our beasts were slain by her breath, though, if I recall correctly. Several of us. It was not a foregone conclusion.
Marviatris was an ancient dragon who called Icewind Dale her home.
Yep, past tense.
For centuries. And you killed her. She was a sworn enemy of the giants. You, dragon slayers, will live to tell your tale to others. But I fear there may be more dragons to slay.
There are always more dragons to slay.
She wasn't our first.
Won't be our last.
You have slayed dragons.
What's it now? 5? 4?
And the Frostmaiden. She
That
wasn't
too.
a dragon, but
Well,
That
I mean,
one I'm not going to translate, just
Yeah.
in case.
Yeah.
the Chardolin thing, it looked like a dragon, but was it really a dragon?
Well, it flew like a dragon. It drew breath like a dragon. Walks like a duck, talks like a duck. Is it a duck?
So we had the black one that was pretty much split between Cantriel and Talmud. I think you guys took care of that one. I
Right.
feel it was very useful there.
Then there was, a Chardolin, sort of.
That's three.
Sorry.
Just while Fig is casting his spell, everybody's just over here going, oh, then we killed this dragon, and there was that one.
Drown is like, they killed several dragons that I was not fully aware of before I joined their company. There was a black one, and there was another white one, I think. And
We got a growing list. It's going to happen.
So, as
they were
the
much smaller.
as the giant,
Does the sea one count? The one that had the ship on its back?
the dragon turtle.
Dragon
The
turtle.
dragon turtle?
Yeah. There's
It's a
that
dragon.
one too.
I think that counts as a dragon. So I would count it.
All right, so there's another one.
You are either great warriors or great bards.
Both.
The whole time that they're having this conversation, translated through Drown, Fig, you've cast your spell, and you are checking the entire area out. And at first, you don't sense anything. And just as you're getting towards the tail end of the 10 minutes, as you're walking back and forth, partway up the crater on the inside, under snow, you see in that arcane blue that is your signature, you see something glowing under the snow. Something a good size, the shape immediately looking like that of a scale. You are able to easily climb to it and start brushing aside the snow. And you see another of Arviatris's scales.
Now, you said it was glowing. What, can I tell the school of magic that
you can. As you are looking at this and you turn the scale over, you see that the sort of almost iridescent blues and whites, gray modeling that went across these ancient dragon scales. You see that what almost looks like a black mildew across it, like a mold almost. And there's only one school of magic you sense: necromancy.
So I imagine as the rest of you are talking to this giant, all of a sudden you see appear from the line of the crater just the scale, as Fig is holding it above his head, just running up the side of the crater. It is necromancy, he yells over and over again.
Son of a bitch.
And it was either returned to life or animated as undead.
That's gonna be one funny looking dragon with no horns.
Also lost a couple fangs, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So we might have to fight it again, is what I'm hearing.
Oh, come on. It's our luck. We're gonna have to fight it again.
That is possible. It depends on who reanimated it.
Oh, I mean, if it's running around here, we've got to find it and deal with it.
You will believe that somebody reanimated this skeleton, and that Arviatris is still out there.
In some form.
And you intend to hunt her.
Yeah.
I kind of look at Thorgarn. Yes.
I mean, went through a, major weight loss program, but, yep, still out there hunting.
The frost giant steps forward.
How tall did you say this thing was?
20 feet.
20 feet.
He takes the butt of his lance and sets it next to him. And again, it's like the size of a ship's mast, so snow just goes around you. And he uses it to sort of hold on to as he crouches down in front of you, Drown.
You will find no aid from the giants, but neither will they hinder you.
And he reaches off to his side into a pouch, and he pulls out a stone that in his hand is small. It's a good size stone that he holds towards you, and it has a rune carved into it.
I would take it.
He hands it to you as you have this I mean it's probably we'll say it's probably about roughly the size of 12 inches in diameter. It's a smooth rounded stone, but it has a rune carved into it.
Is it like spherical or kind of flat like a river?
It's kind of flat, like it looks like he could take it and easily skip it across the sea of moving ice without much problem, and probably skip it a few miles. But he hands it to you and then abruptly stands up, walks over and clambers up onto the back of his mammoth, looks at all of you, and then pulls on the reins, turns, and starts to walk away, ride away to the southwest. And you can see as he goes down this hill, you just see this massive lance slowly disappear. And that's where we're going to end tonight's session. Oh, wait. Did you want to do something?
I was going to say, can I read the rune?
You can, and we'll find out what it says next week.
Okie doke.
Thorgarn would just say, like, Drown, were you really afraid of that guy? Drown looked like he was walking on eggshells. If this dude was afraid of Aviatris, we kicked Aviatris's butt. I think that puts us in the lead.
To be clear, and Drown, you would know this frost giant was not afraid of Arviatris. It was anger, and he viewed Arviatris as a foe, not as something to be afraid of.
This giant's decrepit elder, who was merely wishing for death, almost killed me in 2 strikes. Yes, I am afraid of him.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good way to be around frost giants, especially healthy ones. All right, yeah. So that
especially ones that deal 3d12 freaking lance. Yeah,
3d12 plus 6 with that lance. So he could make a Dawnbringer shish kebab for sure.
Yup.
So yeah, you had some good talks, some good celebration. Talmud acquired some very well-aged Kiergan and a mysterious icosahedron.
Yeah, I want to give
that
the
fig back.
Yes, I want to
you got
give the
fig
D20
back.
to Fig.
Yeah, lots of stuff going on, and you learned that, well, some sort of necromancy has been used to remove Arviatris's skeleton. And you, if not made an ally, you made a tentative truce with a frost giant who has given you a rune stone. So we will find out what the Dawnbringers are going to do next. They've talked about a couple plans, and they probably have new plans to talk about. When we return next week, just a reminder to please tune in this Saturday at 8 p.m. to Quest for the Cure on Twitch to catch the latest Quest for the Cure fundraiser from Fortner.com and those at Jesse's Journey as they raise money for Duchenne muscular dystrophy research. On Sunday night, you can catch myself and Jeremy along with our friend Chad, Lloyd the RLDM, and Taylor in our third and final Skull and Bones, DM'd by the one and only Alan of CFT RPG, and I am doing a cosplay light of my Minotaur character. I'm 3D printing some horns and it'll be my first time cosplaying on screen, actually. So, so yeah, you can tune into CFT RPG on Twitch for that game. And of course, on Monday, we will be back for Scribes and Scrolls, the Candlekeep Mysteries, right here on Mini Terrain Domain at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. It's always fun to see chat popping along while we're playing our games. Thank you to everybody who either followed or subscribed, earned domain dice for the players. And if you are one of those people lurking quietly in the background, not participating in chat, thank you. We appreciate you all the same. And of course, I have to say, as always, a huge thank you to my amazing players, Dan, V, Ted, Jeremy, though she's not here, Goblin Katie, we wish her well, and M, who it was just absolutely wonderful to have you and Fig back tonight. We've missed you so much, and we are glad you are back with us. Without these wonderful people, it would just be me talking to myself for a couple of hours. So with that, we are going to go ahead and end the stream. I think, yeah, I'm not seeing anybody that I want to read. Maybe I'm just not following the right people. I don't know, but we're going to go ahead and end the stream the same way we end every stream. And you can say it with me if you want.
Dragon Slayers.
So 4 inches.